Hey guys, Gary the Gremlin here, and the mic is too close. I'm moving it back. Second try. Hey guys, Gary the Gremlin here, but I can't deal with that now because today, as always, I'm reviewing a toy. But not just any toy, this one is special. This is the Mattel Jurassic World Dino Trackers Borealopelta, and out of all the figures I have, the one with definitely the most interesting backstory as to how I got it in my grubby little hands. First, I'm going to ask that you like, comment, subscribe, and if you really enjoy the video, share it with a friend. If you hate this video, share it with your mortal enemy. Make them watch it and be bored as well. What the hell? Second thing, I'm going to tell you why Borealopelta here is in my top 3 favorite dinosaurs, if not in my top 1 spot. Wow. But also, just so it's not hanging over our heads the whole time, let's open up this box. It's a nice little box with a really cute Habitat logo up here, but I've talked about the Dino Trackers line and my love for it in the past, and I don't want to bore you guys with all that information here again. I guess I should go ahead and make a playlist. Hopefully I get more Dino Trackers toys to review. Getting this guy out is way too simple, and looking him over, he's really cute. Aww. There's some unfortunate things we'll get into later, but no spoilers. Hold your horses. First, the usual rant. Or as this commenter at FurballAnimatesVR put it, the Gary the Grim rant. This one's going to be much less of a rant and more of a history lesson, but I like that name, so I'm going to use it again. Game recognized game. My childhood obsession with dinosaurs, the obsession that would later become an adulthood obsession and also YouTube channel, was always fueled by my curiosity. Curiosity with the natural world, and why things happened and how we got here. The biggest enigma in all that, of course, was the dinosaurs. An unknowable world, an extinct world, full of a different species that are now only visible through their descendants. It's really something else. All this is why Borealopelta is so interesting to me. Borealopelta markmichelli is a species of nodosaur from the earlier half of the Cretaceous found in Alberta, Canada. If you're confused why my favorite dinosaur is this small, unassuming nodosaur, well, let me tell you. Borealopelta is my favorite not because it was the strongest or coolest or had the most followers on Twitter.com. No. Borealopelta, or Boreo as I'll be calling it for short, is my absolute little fave because the amazing insights its fossils have shown us into the world of the dinosaurs. If it wasn't clear from looking at this photo I've flashed on the screen a couple times up until now, this is a rather unique fossil. For a pile of bones, this fossil was found uniquely fleshy and full-figured. It just so happens that the perfect conditions took place so that this poor Boreo upon death was perfectly mummified, with no flattening or shriveling to its lovely bubbly appearance. Scientists, much smarter than I, theorized that this was caused by the animal's corpse, ending up somehow way out in the middle of the ocean, where it sank to the bottom and was quickly buried by sediments, perfectly preserving this dinosaur dude. All this is quoting the Wikipedia, by the way. It's public information. You should probably just go read yourself right now instead of having an idiot YouTuber quote it to you. What Boreo was doing just so far out at sea, I have no idea. What all this complicated process of dying and being amazingly mummified means, however, for this video, is that we, and by we I mean the collective group of paleontologists who actually did the work, were able to learn some wonderful things. Boreo was so well preserved that even its stomach contents were able to be examined. That's insane. Slightly more relevant to this review, however, is the most interesting thing about the specimen and exactly why it's my favorite dinosaur. Quoting directly from the wiki here, study of the pigments preserved in remnants of skin and scales suggests that it might have had a reddish-brown coloration in life, with a counter-shaded pattern that was used for camouflage. When I first learned of this species, it hit me like a truck. My entire life I've loved dinosaurs and have spent countless hours daydreaming about what they might have looked like alive. Here was a dinosaur so well preserved that we know exactly what its skin texture looked like, what it ate for lunch, and most amazing of all, what color it was. Over and over, the children books I'd read as a kid would comment on dinosaur skin color. The idea that the dinosaurs' colors would never really be truly known, and even the best scientists could only ever use their imagination. There were some things we could learn about the animals from their remains, but the color they were would always remain a mystery. But here was Borealopelta, a dinosaur that via a miracle of nature combined with cutting-edge science would reveal its amazing truth, the color of its skin. This was truly a paradigm shift for me. I'd heard of Anchiornis and Archaeopteryx and the lot, all the dinosaurs that had their colorations revealed through similar situations. But for some reason, it didn't hit anywhere near as hard as with Borealopelta. Now it seems that almost every day we learn the true color of a dinosaur, and I couldn't be happier for it. Psittacosaurus was brown and Shantungosaurus was gray. It's amazing, we're blessed. But Borealopelta was the one that stuck with me for some reason, and that's why I was really excited to see it was getting a figure from Mattel. But alas, I never got it. I don't know. Sometimes these things are weird, aren't they? For a long time, I just wasn't buying any mainline dinosaur toys, and though I even saw it in person at a Walmart once, it seemed like a big step to randomly just buy one mainline figure, so I didn't. Obviously, at some point, I pulled my head out of my ass, changed my mind about all that, and tried to track this figure down. To my dismay, at that point, prices had gone up a lot. Listen, $16 isn't that bad, but factor in the $22 shipping, and yeah, you've got no deal. A little defeated, Boreo was just kind of a thing I resigned to only ever getting if somehow, by a miracle, it would show up in person in front of me. Well, it turns out, by a miracle, it would show up in person, and I would in fact get it, and that miracle's name was Vance. Vance, the absolute legend he is, reached out through the comments section and offered to get me one. He said that of all places, his local Kroger had one and he'd be willing to get it to me. We made it happen, we met up, and he gave me the Borealopelta, quoting him directly, on the house. Quite genuinely, I think I have done nothing to deserve such a kindness. Vance, thank you. You will go down in Gary the Gremlin history as the first ever channel sponsor. This review is dedicated to Vance, of course, and I'm forever thankful for him providing me with my own Borealopelta to gush over. Okay, let's pause and consult the Gary the Gremlin trademark checklist. No, sounds boring. Okay, now let's actually talk about the toy itself. First impressions, it's great. We'll get to later impressions and the one flaw this toy has later. Keep holding them horsies. But as far as a Borealopelta toy goes, this is fantastic. Universal has a terrible inclination when designing their movie monsters to go way over the top and make them super unrealistic. Case in point, Giganotosaurus. But Mattel, when making their toy line only creatures, tend to be a lot more realistic, but still sometimes really weird. Here's two different examples, Tyrannotitan and Utahraptor. Both are from the 2025 Rebirth line, and neither actually appeared in that film, meaning Mattel could do whatever they wanted with these designs. For all we know about Utahraptor, this isn't half bad. It's a decent attempt. A bit overly cartoony, but instantly recognizable as a Utahraptor. Although inaccurate, it's probably still a 9 out of 10 in terms of recognition. You can look at this and know it's trying to be a Utahraptor instead of like an Achilobator or something like that. Tyrannotitan, on the other hand? Tyrannotitan who? What is this? It's not bad looking, but there's nothing here communicating that it is a Tyrannotitan, and it's woefully undersized. At best, we're looking at a 4 out of 10 on the recognition scale. Borealopelta, thank God, is a 10 out of 10. Maybe it's just because we have a perfect idea of what the actual animal looked like, or Mattel was just feeling particularly realistic today. I don't know. Some of the other herbivores suffer from those horribly cartoony anime eyes, and Boreo here is all good. Lovely small eyes. Teeny tiny beady little peepers hidden under there. Miracle if my camera can even focus on them. In line with that scientific accuracy is also the color. As it was the discovery of the real Borealopelta's colors that made it so amazing to me, of course I'm very happy to see Mattel emulate that reddish-brown color scheme here. The shade they picked is really perfect. It's more subdued and subtle with a slightly more orange tinge. There's a deceptive amount of paint on this little friend of mine. Looking at him, it doesn't really seem like he lacks any paint, right? Maybe all he could do with is some painted nails, but paint is pretty a-okay. Turns out, beyond those previously discussed eyes, this guy has only 3 paint apps. Count them, 3. This light tan on the neck, a little bit of brown for the nose, and this red on the underside of the tail. For that little amount of paint, he's fared surprisingly well. Sometimes we repaint our toys over here at the Gary the Gremlin Fortress of Solitude, but not today, because I'm happy with how he looks. The detail here is really good as well. All these little scales and scoots are great. I particularly like these little bumps on the elbow that have been exaggerated, maybe just a little bit to be more stylized. That's about the only place with detail like that, and I'm glad they went for a more realistic approach for the rest of the body. On the back especially, no big and bulky turtle-like shell parts, there's some very small and clean-looking scales that cover these nodules. And that's the thing as a whole. It disregards the usual stylization attempts Mattel makes and wholly goes for a paleo-accurate thing. Some of the neck spikes, especially these big shoulder ones, are a bit exaggerated and oversized, which is understandable for making this kid's toy. It's not that bad, and I think a big reason for this is the size of the figure. It's pretty small. Exaggerating the size of these features in this case sort of makes it more clear what species this is supposed to be, when I think downplaying them might have made it look too similar to the dozens of other small nodosaurs Mattel has made in their lines. I did mention size, and you know what time it is. Size comparison. To the top of its back, Boreo is just about 2 inches tall, and then almost perfectly 7 inches long. I mean, wow, that is perfect. First, the channel staple, Action Master Grimlock. Next, the Council of Raptors. Then, here's Boreo, along with his big brother, cousin, the Hammond Collection Ankylosaurus. A random assortment of my favorite little desk toys, plus some 1/18th scale human buddies. My previous review, the fellow Dino Trackers figure, the Habitat Defender Triceratops. And last, because why the hell not, Transformers Legacy Tigerhawk. Love that guy. Big fan of his work. As for articulation, you've got a really nice joint for the base of the neck, a rotation, and a really good hinge. Next, the front legs have a good range of motion, pretty much 100 degrees forward and 50 degrees backwards. So if you're curious, yes, he can kick himself in the neck, but not really in the belly. The hind legs are a similar situation though, because these are sculpted so differently, the range varies a lot. To round it out, the tail rotates on a basic swivel. It's all some very rudimentary articulation, but I'm not surprised, and neither are you. It's a Mattel mainline toy. I wasn't exactly expecting SH Monster Arts levels of articulated dinosaur. Speaking of SH Monster Arts, doesn't he look like Anguirus a lot? Am I crazy? Let me know below how many of you are also Godzilla fans. I haven't yet gotten any Hiya Toys Big G stuff, but I'd really like to. Especially that GMK Godzilla. Dude is perfection. Anyways, as I was saying, the articulation is basic, but it's what it's supposed to be for this type of toy. I would absolutely adore a Hammond Collection version of a Borealopelta, but that goes without saying. One last little feature I guess on Boreo is the Dino scan code, which just pops out of the back here. To this day, it still kills me that this is how they decided to implement this. It just looks so painful for him. And overall, this little guy is just so perfect and so happy. Well, except for... I did keep hinting the whole review that something was wrong with him, and well, here it is. Right here on his left back foot, he's got a severely mangled little ankle. I can't tell if this was from the factory or if this was from him being crammed into his packaging wrong, but this foot has been warped. I feel so sorry for the little guy. He didn't ask to be made this way. It's not quite enough to make him off balance per se. Thank God this didn't happen on a bipedal toy, but it's enough to make him a little wobbly. Maybe just uncomfortable enough that you'd ask the waiter for a matchbook or something. It does just look really awkward with him on a surface as flat as my desk. It's very noticeable here. But overall, it's not the biggest problem in the grand scheme of things, or in the small scheme of this toy, and I am just still so thankful to even have this toy today to review. Everyone, make sure to comment "Thank you, Vance" below. I am really happy with this sweet little Boreo toy, as it's so nice to finally own a little model of my favorite dinosaur. Putting my 3 favorite dinosaur species together in a shot really demonstrates the diversity of the dinosaurs. They were some of the biggest creatures on Earth, some of the most fearsome creatures on Earth, and for Borealopelta, some of the cutest. Thanks for watching, my Googly Gang. This review was a treat to make. Alright, that's it for this one. Again, thank you so much for watching, and Gary the Gremlin